All of these different projects here, all these different materials, they were all done with one laser. This one right here, this is the Creality Falcon T1, and I'm so excited to be one of the first people in the world to test it out and share it with you guys. Now this new laser blows everything else out of the water for one reason, and I'll explain that shortly. But if you're wondering what a furniture channel has to do with a laser, everything! I've made so many cool things for pieces of furniture that were missing things, like this custom sliding jewelry box. This dresser used to have one, there was a tray for it, but it was missing, so I was able to create one with a personal touch and send it along with the piece. I've engraved on small cutting boards, a million coasters, some of which I sell on my website or at markets. And as always, stuff for the bunny rescue that I help out with. Over the years, Creality has moved beyond beginner machines into more advanced modular systems, and the Falcon T1 is the perfect example of that. The Creality Falcon T1 is a modular galvo laser platform designed to give you multiple laser machines in one compact system. Instead of being locked into a single laser type, you can swap different laser modules depending on what you want to engrave or cut, and because it uses galvo technology with high-speed mirror steering instead of a moving gantry, don't worry, I'll explain those terms shortly. It delivers extremely fast engraving speeds. I'm going to show you here in a few minutes, and it just blew my mind how fast this thing is. But in addition to the speed, you get sharp detail and consistent accuracy in a much smaller footprint. It's aimed at makers, small businesses, and serious hobbyists who want flexibility, production speed, and professional level results without needing a full industrial setup. Unboxing the T1 was a breeze. Everything was packaged extremely well, everything was protected, no damage, and honestly it's like being a kid at Christmas. Now looking here at the work surface, obviously it's a lot smaller than what I normally deal with, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. Looking at the exterior of the machine, this is a beautiful machine. We've got plugs here on the back for air purifier, conveyor system, as well as a rotary tool. Now Creality did send me their air purifier and conveyor to play with, so I'll be plugging those in a little bit. Now one improvement I've noticed they've made over the A1 Pro, which was the last Creality laser I reviewed, is that they have their external touchpad affixed with a magnet to the side, so that's really great. It's not fixed, you don't have to worry about banging into it. If you want to use it, you take it down, and if not, you just put it back up on the magnet. I thought that was a great thing to do. So just setting things up here according to the instruction manual, as seems to be the case with most Creality lasers, the instruction manual is a little bit light, but still clear to understand. One thing very important with this machine, the top rises. So don't put it underneath of a shelf or anything that is going to impede it when it goes to raise up. Ask me how I know this. So there's two ways that you can use this machine. You can either have the exhaust hose hooked up to an external vent, which is what I have. I have multiple lasers now, so I have a permanent vent in the garage wall that vents right to outside. But you can also use an air purifier, and I will show you that a little bit later in the video. But first, let's turn this thing on and get the setup complete. The touchscreen is super easy to use. Everything is crystal clear. Basically, you're going to go in, select your time zone, privacy policies, all that stuff, set up your Wi-Fi, and also link your machine to the software. And now we're going to put a module in. Now this, I apologize, is a little bit blurry. I'll show this process a little bit clearer shortly. But this is the first one I'm going to pop in. Now this is a 20 watt blue diode laser, and it is as easy as that. Every time you put a new module in, you have to calibrate it. It's really fast, really easy. Basically, the laser will give you a little box here to slide this card into. Just make sure it's lined up, hit next, close the lid, and it's going to calibrate. Now you don't have to do this before every project, just every time you put a brand new module in. Once your module is calibrated to your machine, you don't have to do it again for that module. I don't know exactly what it does, but this is what it looks like. Kind of cool. Now, in addition to the 20 watt blue diode laser module, I was also sent a 40 watt diode laser module and a 20 watt fiber laser module, which I am bouncing up and down about. Now, what does all this mean? Diode, fiber, galvo, gantry. A diode laser is best for organic materials like wood, leather, cardboard, dark acrylics. It burns the surface to cut or engrave, which makes it great for crafts, signage, and woodworking projects. You've seen me use them a dozen times. A fiber laser, on the other hand, operates on a completely different wavelength that's absorbed by metal instead of wood. So that allows you to engrave directly into bare metals like stainless steel, aluminum, brass, and copper with no coatings required. So if you're working with wood and craft materials, diode is your go-to. If you're engraving with metal, fiber is the tool you need. And if you're like me and want to do both, this is the machine to have. So this was my first little tester piece here. Turned out great. I'm going to try something a little bit bigger. Now this is MDF. Diode lasers work great on MDF. It smells terrible, so make sure you're vented properly. But this is just a cute little sign I wanted to make for the bunny rescue. And the sign took 57 seconds to process. Super fast. You can see it's a bit dusty here, so I'm just going to kind of clean it off and have a look. And yeah, I'm super impressed with how crisp this is. Like, it's super sharp, perfect engraving, super happy with that. Now, I also did a bunch of other little key tags. These are some walnut keychains that are not finished that I engraved. So I'm going to show you a couple different ways you can do it. First is simply to apply some finish and call it a day. I think that's cute. But I like a little bit of dimension, and I want this to look a little bit old. I mean, the design itself says 1700 and something, so may as well make it look old. And I did that just by pushing some black stain into the engraving and the surrounding wood and then buffing some of that off. And you can get completely different looks depending on how much you buff off. I think these are really cute. I'm going to make a bunch more of these for the bunny rescue to sell at a market they have coming up. And I might even put some on my website. I like them that much. Now that was doing these one at a time. I'm going to show you in a little bit how to use the conveyor belt to batch process these. So I'm also going to do one of my coaster designs on this photo paper stuff. I've never used it before. Now the built-in camera is fantastic for positioning, but I always like to double check things by clicking frame. And this will beam down a projection of exactly where the boundaries of your engraving will be. And the actual clip of this one engraving is the perfect time to talk about what the difference between a galvo laser and a traditional laser is. Now, most hobby lasers you've probably seen, like CO2 and diode lasers, they work by physically moving the laser head across the bed on rails, called a gantry, kind of like a CNC or a 3D printer. They're great for cutting wood and acrylic, but they're mechanically limited by how fast the machine can physically move. A galvo laser, which is what this is, works completely differently. So instead of moving the head, tiny mirrors kind of steer the laser beam all over the place at extremely high speed. So that's what makes this engraving so incredibly fast, super precise, and perfect for fine detail work, especially on metals and like small production runs. Now the trade-off is that galvo lasers usually have a smaller working area compared to the big gantry machines, and they're not ideal for large furniture size projects or super thick material cutting. We'll talk a little bit more about cutting shortly, but have a look at how clear this came out. Really crisp, sharp detail. So that's a more graphic image, but what about something like a photograph? I decided to do a little portrait of our foster bunny Reno, who just got adopted. After 2 years with us, he's got a little bunny girlfriend now. Anyway, I'm so happy for this guy. Look how cute he is. This turned out great for a first attempt. As with any new technology, it takes a little bit to kind of dial in your settings, so I'm excited to play around with that. So I'm going to pop out the 20 watt diode and I'm going to pop in the 20 watt fiber. Now, a fiber laser is designed mainly for engraving and marking metals, and it works so well because of the frequency of the light that it produces. So the wavelength of this module operates around 1064 nanometers, which metals absorb really efficiently. So instead of light bouncing away like it does with many other types of lasers, the metal turns that energy into heat right where the beam hits. And that's why fiber lasers can make very sharp, deep, and fast engravings on metals like stainless steel, brass, aluminum, even titanium. And some fiber lasers like MOPA types, and that's why I'm really excited about the 60 watt MOPA module coming. They can also change their pulse frequency, which lets you control how the heat builds up. This allows you to get things like much darker blacks and really hone in on some of the color effects. These little L brackets that come with it are perfect for batch engraving if you're doing multiple pieces and you need to position the next one exactly where the previous one was. So I just wanted to show you that. Now this is an anodized aluminum dog tag that they sent me to test out on. We don't have a dog, so I'm doing Peach, our neighbor's dog. Now one thing of note here, you can see I've got the lid open just slightly. This is not recommended. I'm only doing it to film this segment. Please operate it with the lid fully closed. That's real time. That is not sped up. It took 4 seconds to do this dog tag. Now, if you're like me, and kind of business-minded, the wheels in your head are probably starting to turn about all the different side gigs you could have with a machine like this. Now, right now the back is completely empty, but I'm going to put their phone number on here so that if Peach goes rogue, hopefully they can find her. But yeah, back to the business thing. There's so much demand for customization if you think about weddings and birthdays and birthday parties, family reunions. If you go into the corporate side of things, like company events, even this little simple coin I engraved. Now picture this a little bit smaller. This is a bit oversized, but something maybe around an inch that I could embed into my custom woodworking stuff. Like, this is a way to upscale pretty much anything that you're making, or you could have an entire business just doing that for other people. The possibilities are endless, and with something that can move this fast, this is why I'm saying this is not just a hobby laser. This is serious business material here. I actually got the idea for those little key rings from someone who commented on a video that I should make a bumper sticker that says that, and actually I will, so stay tuned for that. I also engraved the word indoor on some of these lava rock beads. I thought they'd make cute little pendants maybe. These are slate coasters. I'm just doing some very simple coasters for the bunny rescue, but with slate, you can actually get really good depth with a fiber laser, and I'll show you that here on an actual stone. Now, in another video with a 2-watt infrared laser, I did a few little stones with some fun messages, but this is different. So this here, what you're seeing is the frame option to show the object rather than a bounding box. I love this because you can get it exactly where you want it. Now, obviously, engraving something like this is going to be dusty, so again, good ventilation, make sure your lid is closed. I'm also well ventilated and wearing protective eyewear. Now, the difference between using the 20-watt fiber laser here and the infrared laser I used on the stones in the other video is that this is truly engraving. Like, you're gonna see actual depth in the rock. On the other ones, it was more of a marking. It's on there, but it's not, it doesn't have depth. And believe me, this is gonna have depth. Check this out. Isn't this beautiful? Like, I have so many ideas looking at this. I could picture it in gardens with the names of what you've planted, the flowers or the vegetables. I could see these as little customized pet markers for, you know, pets that have passed on. Just little gifts that you can leave at benches and beaches and parks just to kind of, you know, make someone smile. I love that I have the opportunity to review tools like this because it does give me a chance to give back in that way, and it's just something that I absolutely love about my job. Now, this is a sheet of solid brass that I've engraved these 2 little A's on. I wanted to turn them into like little necklaces or something. You'll see 2 sets here because the first set I didn't process long enough to completely cut through. You can do it. It takes a lot of repetition and a lot of like cycles of cutting to get through brass. But keep in mind that those cycles are extremely fast. Now, I'm told that the 60-watt MOPA laser is going to be better at this than the 20-watt fiber that I'm using here, but I wanted to try it out anyway. Now, this is a titanium plate, and I'm doing a material test array, and what this is going to do is going to show me all the different combinations of power, speed, and frequency, which marks in different colors on certain metals. Now, this is super fun. Now, this is just an AI-generated image of me, in quotations, with some Otis oil and bunnies. Apparently, that's what I'm into. But you choose how many colors you want to use in your image, and then you can go in and modify. You can use the slider to adjust the colors, or you can physically go in and pick different colors. But this is just a test. Let's see how this goes. These things do take quite a while. I think this is about 3 hours to do this little picture here. But it's so neat, and I have all kinds of ideas for this. Maybe not necessarily people portraits, but you know, you gotta start somewhere, and I was actually pretty impressed by this. And stainless steel is kind of the same thing, so I'm imagining like multicolor dog tags or charms, that sort of thing. So I'm gonna pop the fiber laser module out, and we're gonna put in the 40-watt blue diode laser. In this next segment, I'm gonna show you how the conveyor belt works, as well as the air purifier. Creality had sent me a few different types of acrylic. Now, I've never engraved or cut acrylic, even though a couple of my other machines do it. So this was a fun test. I did that same Black Cat Apothecary design. And if you've ever used a Cricut or a Silhouette, you know exactly what weeding is. And weeding this was so much fun. But I think this turned out great. Aside from the bee that I scratched a little bit, I kind of messed that up with my fingernail. I scratched a little too hard. This is an absolutely beautiful engraving. I don't know if you can see here. Let me hold this up to the light. It's perfect. Like, that's pretty impressive actually. Now, what does somebody do with something like this? You could cut 2 little holes on the top and use it as a sign. There are a million different wooden stands for these things. People use them as award plaques or, signage at a business. You could cut your own keychains, customized Christmas ornaments. Like, the possibilities are endless. How about a leather patch? This is my first time engraving leather. Super easy process, so satisfying to watch. Another example of something that could be customized and sold. This took 24 seconds to make. So what's the big deal with the air purifier? This is perfect if you are not like me and don't have an external vent. I'm also going to be setting up the conveyor, so I'm going to move everything over here so I have a little bit more room on this table. But yeah, if you don't have an exterior vent like I do here, an air purifier is absolutely the way to go. You do not want to use these lasers without one of those 2 things. Now, this is super easy to set up. Instructions could not be easier. I did find the attachment a little bit loose in the hole, so I just added a small piece of rubber tape to kind of tighten that up, and we are good to go. I'm just going to connect the other end of this hose to the machine. With these hoses, the shorter the distance between either the machine and the outside or the machine and the air purifier, the better. So now I'm just going to plug in the conveyor and the purifier, and we're going to do some testing. Now this is framing out here where I'm going to be engraving. You can see the conveyor is moving back and forth. This allows you to engrave on things that are larger than the normal work surface. And this expands your work surface up to 500 millimeters. And I actually have this air quality device here because I want to do my own tests. Now, the air purifier has its own sort of built-in test that you can see the results of on the front, but I wanted to do my own just to kind of double check everything. So this turned out great. Even with doing 2 passes, I didn't see any misalignment as the conveyor went back and forth, so that's really exciting. Okay, so batch engraving. So first thing you want to do is make sure you are in batch engraving mode. So with the Smart Fill, basically what you do is you apply your design, and then you're going to trace out the actual whatever it is you're engraving, in this case keychain, hit start, and the conveyor is going to move back and forth and look for objects. And when it recognizes one of those objects, it's going to engrave it. And you'll see as this goes along, this looks terrifying, but it's just the blue laser. You're going to see the conveyor move back and forth as it searches for objects. Now, what I'm looking for here is consistency. I want to make sure that they all come out looking the same. And also accuracy. Are any of the smart filled items off in any way? And I have to say, this is the very first time I've ever used a conveyor, and I'm super happy with it. Of the 12 that I engraved, there was only one that came out a little bit light, and I think it's because these keychains, unlike the first ones I did, these are pre-finished, so I had to also go through that layer. Now, where does this machine fall short? It is in cutting thick materials, and it's not a problem with this machine, it is an issue with galvo lasers in general. They're designed for fast surface engraving with a fixed local zone, not deep cutting, so the laser beam is steered by those little angled mirrors, which means the beam hits the material at slightly different angles depending on where it is in the work area. So on thicker materials, this can cause tapered or slanted cuts instead of perfectly straight vertical edges, and this is my example here. It has the power to cut through something this thick, just not straight, if that makes sense. The sides are angled. Okay, so some key things about this machine. The smart camera and autofocus, 10 out of 10. Absolutely love them. The autofocus takes about 15 seconds. You don't have to manually measure anything or guess how thick something is. It gives you perfect focus and placement every time. If you do start to have issues with the camera lining things up properly, a simple camera calibration is fairly quick and really straightforward. Just follow the instructions on the screen. You also have access to CraftSeek, which is going to show you tons of projects you can do. I'm super excited about these AI filters, particularly this, the Relief Depth Map. Now what this does, it allows you to take images and designs and make them 3-dimensional so that you can literally engrave in 3 dimensions. Now I did order some coins online that were advertised as brass, but turns out they're just brass color. They are actually zinc alloy, which are exactly the same coins that they had sent me to test out. And I didn't have a great result with depth engraving. This looks great. Stuff like this was totally fine on these zinc ones, but I think I'm going to try to find some solid brass coins. And I had the same issue with this wax seal here. It too was an alloy, it wasn't solid brass. I mean, it worked. I got some good depth with this very basic pattern, but it's just not the same as this really smooth results in solid brass. And I know this laser can do it. So I'll definitely give you an update on that in the next video I do with this laser. Zinc alloy and brass have different melting points, which lead to different engraving results. So zinc alloy tends to produce more of a melting effect, and solid brass is more prone to vaporization. And because of this, brass naturally performs better for high precision vertical 3D engraving. That said, with the right processing parameters, zinc alloy can still deliver good results for certain patterns. It's just not as ideal when maximum depth and precision are the goal. So I am going to get some solid brass coins to play around with and really show you guys the difference in the next video. But another thing I tried was a first for me. I wanted to try making my own stamp. A lot of you guys know that I am a crafter. I love making cards, so I'm used to stamps, but I've never made one. And I thought this might be kind of cool for branding, like on my boxes or something. So I had the laser engrave it and then cut it out, and now I just need to back it with something. So I went shopping in my scrap pile and I found this piece of rosewood, which seems a little bit bougie for a stamp, but I couldn't really find anything else that was exactly the right size. There's this piece of tiger wood, but it wasn't quite right. So bougie rosewood backer it is. And I actually went in and then engraved the image onto the wood block itself on the other side. I also added some gold rub and buff. I thought that would be really pretty, but I didn't really take into account the fact that my hand would probably rub it off as quickly as it did. But yeah, it was super fast and easy to make a custom stamp, and now I can brand my boxes if I want to. And the last project I made for this particular test video was another little thing for the bunny rescue. I just engraved on a box. I wanted to show you that the height doesn't really matter with the autofocus. Normally you'd have to measure, but the autofocus is a one-click shot and it gets it perfect every time. So you can see on the box here, and this is the box itself, the wood grain underneath the word dark. The grain itself is a little bit deeper than the wood around it, so I wanted to run this again, and this is kind of a testament to how accurate you can be with these setup blocks. I placed it back in, ran the process again, and it engraved in exactly the same position. Organic materials like wood always have variations, so that's a great feature. So let's talk about software for a moment. Falcon Design Space is their software. This machine also works with Lightburn, but if you're just starting out, Falcon Design Space is super. You can create custom designs pretty quickly. Like anything, there is a learning curve and it does take some getting used to, but as far as user-friendly, this is one of the better ones. Their software also pairs with an app on your phone, which gives you a bird's eye view of the machine while it's running. From your phone, you can hit pause, stop, and record videos of the process. You can also use the same app to connect to other machines, including the air purifier, which you can then control from your app and pair it with whatever machine you're using at the time. Another feature of the phone app is this, where you can come in and pick a project and you can set everything up on your phone and literally send it to the laser from your phone. You can also create designs in the mobile version of Design Space. I had a ton of fun testing this machine out, trying different materials, different projects. I can't wait to really get into this and do some really cool stuff. The problem with being one of the first people in the world to try a machine out is that there's no tutorials yet on YouTube, so I didn't really have much to go on except just my limited experience with other machines and just figuring it out. I see so much potential with this machine, especially paired with the conveyor belt accessory and the air purifier, which means I could take it somewhere if I needed to. It's so fast. The Galvo hyperspeed is up to 15 times faster than a traditional gantry laser, so this gives you factory level productivity at your desktop. Perfect for small batch production. It's incredibly well built. This is a Class 1 safety certified, fully enclosed laser product. But my absolute favorite thing about this machine is just the fact that it is a 5-in-1 system. You've got your dual diodes, 20 watt and 40 watt, a 20 watt fiber, a 60 watt MOPA fiber, and a UV. And with just a few seconds to swap out in between, you're not locked into a single type of work. You can go from woodworking and crafts to metal engraving to fine detail without buying multiple machines or sacrificing workspace. The Galvo system delivers incredible speed and precision for production work and detailed engraving. Creality has made the platform approachable for serious hobbyists and small businesses rather than just industrial users. It's not meant to replace a large format cutting laser, but as a high performance engraving and multi-material system, the flexibility here is just off the charts. I've already got some other things I want to engrave on. I've got these cute little charms. I picked up some dyed jasper pendants. I thought those would be kind of fun to try out with the UV laser. I have some of these wooden tags that I want to customize. I picked up this set of clothespins from, I think it was Michael's. I want to turn these into customized fridge magnets. And I even grabbed a few less conventional things to engrave on and continue my testing. And don't forget the UV laser does glass, so I'll be able to 3D engrave in this glass block. So I do have more to share with you about this machine. I'm going to be doing it in another video. It's not going to be a full-length dedicated video like this one. It'll be kind of a section of another video, but stay tuned for that if you're interested in seeing what the other two laser modules can do. I am really excited about both of them. And I will also be sharing some of the cool projects that I talked about, as well as some that I'm still kind of in the works over. The versatility of this machine is really off the charts, and I feel completely blessed to be one of the first in the world to try this out and share with you guys. So if you're interested in this machine, here's the skinny. It's not quite ready for public release just yet, but you can look forward to some early bird discounts and a surprise bundle of extra accessories. So more exciting updates and details will officially be announced soon. As always, I want to thank you so much for sharing this time with me. Thank you to Creality for sponsoring this video and allowing me to test drive such an amazing product. I'll see you next time.